Picture this, a storm tearing through the night, trees bending, waves crashing, chaos everywhere. And yet, in the middle of it all, a small candle flickers, but never dies. That candle is your mind. The storm, that's life. Lost jobs, broken relationships, bills stacking up, people letting you down. The Stoics taught us this. The real battle isn't out there in the storm, it's inside your own head. Peace doesn't come from controlling the world, but from mastering your inner strength. So here's the question: if life is guaranteed to test you, why not train your mind to win? Lesson 1: don't let your peace depend on circumstances. Life has never been perfect, and it never will be. Even on days when the sun is shining and everything seems to align, something small will go wrong. Maybe your coffee spills on your shirt right before an important meeting. Maybe traffic pins you down for an hour, making you late. Or maybe a stranger online leaves a careless comment that lingers in your mind all day. We don't like to admit it, but much of our peace is fragile. It hangs on the thin thread of everything going smoothly. And the truth is, life will never give us that guarantee. The Stoics understood this deeply. They realized that real peace doesn't come from a world that behaves itself. It comes from a mind that has learned to remain steady no matter what the world does. Epictetus put it in words that still cut sharp today. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Think about that. The same event can crush one person and strengthen another. The difference isn't in the event, it's in the response. Picture a candle standing in the middle of a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes, lightning cracks across the sky, yet the flame continues to burn. Fragile, but unyielding. The candle doesn't try to stop the storm. It doesn't have that power. Its strength is in protecting its fire. Now, ask yourself honestly, how often do you hand your flame to the storm? How often do you let traffic, gossip, or one email ruin your entire day? We guard our wallets, or passwords, even the privacy of our phones with so much intensity, yet we give away our calm to strangers, to inconveniences, to things far outside our control. The Stoics knew that to protect this inner flame, we have to train the mind. One of their most powerful tools was something called negative visualization. At first, it sounds depressing. Imagine losing your job. Imagine getting sick. Imagine the project failing. But to the Stoics, this wasn't pessimism, it was preparation. By imagining the worst, they stripped it of its power. When hardship came, they weren't blindsided. Their minds were already rehearsed, already braced. They had built armor in thought long before the battle arrived in reality. Think of an athlete. He doesn't only train when the weather is nice. He runs in the rain, lifts weights in the cold, suffers through long practices that test his limits. Why? Because when the real game comes, nothing can shake him. He has already faced the pain. He has already felt the struggle. The Stoic mind works the same way. If you practice facing difficulty in thought, you won't collapse when difficulty shows up in life. And this isn't just ancient wisdom, it's practical right now. Try this tonight, before you fall asleep. Imagine one thing that could go wrong tomorrow. Maybe you'll be delayed. Maybe someone will argue with you. Maybe a plan will break apart. Then picture yourself responding, not with anger, not with panic, but with calm, patience, maybe even humor. When you do this, you're not inviting bad things. You're building strength. You're rehearsing peace. And when life tests you, and it will, you'll be ready. Epictetus himself knew this reality better than anyone. Born a slave, he lost control over nearly everything: his body, his time, even his freedom. And yet, he became one of the freest men in history. Why? Because he mastered the only thing no master could take: his response. His body could be chained, but his mind stood unshaken. If a man in chains could protect his peace, what excuse do we have? So the question comes back to us: will we live like leaves, tossed around by every passing wind, or like trees, rooted deep into the soil? The world outside will always be noisy, unpredictable, even cruel. But inside, we can build silence. Inside, we can build a strength that no storm can break. The storm will always rage, but you, if you choose, can still be the candle. Lesson 2. Don't believe everything your mind tells you every single day. Your mind produces tens of thousands of thoughts. Most of them pass by unnoticed, like clouds drifting across the sky. But here's the uncomfortable truth: a huge portion of those thoughts are negative, anxious, exaggerated, or simply untrue. And yet, how often do we treat them as gospel? A single fearful thought whispers, "You're not good enough," and suddenly you act as if it's a fact. A single doubtful thought says, "They don't like you," and immediately you pull away, creating distance that never had to exist. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced the same mental storms that we do. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His advice was clear: don't get lost in what other people think of you, because most of the time, they aren't even thinking about you. Focus on your actions, your character, and your duty. The rest is noise. Think about it. How many hours of your life have been wasted replaying conversations in your head, obsessing over what someone might have meant, or whether they judged you? The mind loves to spin stories, adding drama, adding weight, until the smallest thing feels like a catastrophe. But here's the reality: the mind is not a flawless narrator. It's more like a dramatic storyteller who exaggerates to keep you hooked. If you believe every thought, it's like letting a drunk driver take the wheel of your life. The Stoics taught a practice called objective representation, seeing things exactly as they are. No more, no less. Imagine this: your boss sends you a short email that says, "We need to talk." Immediately, your mind races. "I must have failed. I'm in trouble. Maybe I'll lose my job." But stop. What are the facts? The only fact is you received an email that says, "We need to talk." Everything else is imagination, fear, and projection. When you strip away the drama, you strip away the unnecessary suffering. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means separating what is from what your mind adds. The rain starts to fall. Fact: water is falling from the sky. Story: this always happens to me. My day is ruined. A friend forgets to reply. Fact: they didn't text back. Story: they don't care about me. Our friendship is falling apart. Do you see the difference? One is neutral. The other is emotional fiction. Let me give you an image. Picture your thoughts as passengers on a bus. Some are loud, some are quiet, some are helpful, and some are downright destructive. But here's the question: who's driving the bus? If you believe every thought, you've handed the wheel to whoever shouts the loudest. But if you practice objective representation, you take back the driver's seat. You hear the passengers, but you don't let them decide where the bus goes. The practice is simple, but not easy. Next time a wave of worry hits you, pause and ask, what are the raw facts here? What's the situation without my story attached? Write it down if you have to. You'll be surprised at how quickly the intensity drops. Fear shrinks when you shine the light of clarity on it. Modern science actually backs this up. Psychologists call it cognitive diffusion, the ability to step back from your thoughts and see them as just that, thoughts, not truths. The Stoics were teaching this centuries ago. They knew that peace comes not from controlling what thoughts arise, but from deciding which ones deserve your attention. And here's something freeing. You don't need to silence the mind. You just need to stop worshipping it. Not every thought is an instruction. Not every fear is a prophecy. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. When you understand this, you no longer have to be dragged around by every anxious impulse. So, the next time your mind tells you a dramatic story, remember Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Don't waste energy worrying about what others think. Anchor yourself in your own actions, your own values. See the world as it is, not as your fear paints it. Because the truth is, your mind will always talk, but you get to choose whether to listen. Lesson 3. Slow down your thinking. Nurture inner peace. Have you ever noticed that when your mind races, your anxiety races with it? The faster your thoughts move, the harder it is to breathe deeply, to see clearly, to feel steady. It's as if your brain is sprinting in 100 different directions while your body struggles to keep up, and in that chaos, peace feels impossible. The Stoics understood this. They lived in a world filled with wars, plagues, political betrayal, and constant uncertainty. If anyone had a reason to panic, it was them. But instead of letting the speed of life drag them into turmoil, they practiced something called prohairesis, a Greek word that means the power of intentional choice. In simpler terms, it's the discipline of focusing only on what's within your control and letting go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, who carried the weight of ruling the Roman Empire, reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He knew that when the mind rushes, fear grows louder. But when the mind slows down, clarity and courage return. Let's bring this closer to our modern lives. Think about the last time you faced a difficult situation, a sudden deadline, an argument with someone you love, or even just a flood of bad news online. What was your first instinct? Probably to react quickly, to rush into a solution, to prove a point, to scroll endlessly for answers. But the faster you chase control, the more control slips away. The truth is, a calm decision rarely comes from a racing mind. That's why the Stoics trained themselves to pause, to breathe, to center. They didn't see stillness as weakness. They saw it as strength. Here's a practice the next time your mind begins to spiral. Anchor yourself with your breath. Close your eyes if you can. Inhale slowly. Hold. Then exhale. Do it again. Pay attention to the simple rise and fall of your chest. Nothing dramatic, nothing complicated. Just your breath steady, reliable, grounding. This isn't mystical, it's practical. When you slow your breathing, you slow your nervous system. Your body stops firing alarms, and your mind regains balance. Suddenly, what felt overwhelming becomes manageable. You see the problem, not the panic. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm. The winds are howling, trees are shaking, rain is pounding, That's your mind when it races. But then you light a single candle and cup your hands around it. That flame is your breath, small, simple, but strong enough to guide you through the storm. Slowing down doesn't mean avoiding action. It means choosing the right action instead of the fastest one. The Stoics knew that hasty reactions create regret, but mindful responses create peace. Let me ask you, how many mistakes in your life came from rushing, from speaking too quickly, sending the message too soon, making a choice without reflection? Now imagine if, in those moments, you had paused for even 30 seconds. How different might the outcome have been? Modern science confirms what the Stoics already knew. Neuroscientists call it the pause effect. When you take even a short pause before reacting, the emotional part of your brain quiets down, and the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, takes over. In other words, slowing down, your thoughts literally rewires your brain toward better decisions. The world around us won't slow down. Technology, politics, relationships, they'll keep rushing forward. But the world within us can slow down. That's where the real battle is fought. And that's where real peace is won. So the next time you feel the weight of stress pushing you forward, remember, speed is not strength. Strength is the ability to step back, to breathe, to choose with intention. Marcus Aurelius didn't find peace by controlling the empire. He found peace by controlling his inner empire, his thoughts, his choices, his focus. And you can too. Slow down your mind. Anchor in your breath. Let clarity guide you instead of panic, because peace doesn't come when life is calm. It comes when you learn to stay calm in the middle of life. Lesson 4. Embrace failure as a teacher. We live in a culture that fears failure. From the time we're young, we're taught to avoid mistakes, to hide imperfections, to measure ourselves by achievements. Success is celebrated, failure is shamed. But the Stoics flipped this script. To them, failure wasn't the enemy, it was the most faithful teacher you could ever have. Marcus Aurelius said it best: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that for a moment. The very thing you see as a setback might actually be the path forward. The obstacle isn't blocking your journey. The obstacle is the journey. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest, and suddenly a huge fallen tree blocks your path. You have two choices. You can sit down and complain that the way is blocked, or you can climb over it, find a way around it, or maybe even discover a new trail you never knew existed. Either way, that obstacle forced you to grow, to think differently, to become more resourceful. Without it, you might have never discovered what you were capable of. Failure is like that tree. It's not there to end your journey. It's there to shape your journey. But here's the key: failure only teaches if you're willing to listen. Most people stop at the pain. They fail once and say, "This means I'm not good enough." But the Stoics would say, "No, this means you've just been given data, feedback, a clue about how to move forward with more wisdom than before." Think about Thomas Edison. When asked about his thousands of failed attempts at inventing the light bulb, he famously replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset is pure Stoicism. Each failure wasn't a defeat, it was a stepping stone. Now let's bring it closer to our own lives. How many times have you looked back at a failure and realized it was necessary? Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, but it pushed you into a career you love. Maybe a relationship ended painfully, but it forced you to grow into someone wiser. kinder, stronger. At the time, it felt like the end, but looking back, you can see it was the beginning of something far better. The Stoics invite us to shift the question. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What is this failure teaching me?" Because every stumble contains a lesson about patience, resilience, humility, or creativity. If you extract the lesson, the failure isn't wasted. If you ignore the lesson, the failure becomes heavier than it needs to be. Here's a practice the next time you fall short, whether it's small, like missing a workout, or big, like losing a business opportunity. Write it down. Then, write underneath. Write the lesson. Ask yourself, what did this experience reveal about me? What can I carry forward so I don't repeat the same mistake? This simple shift turns failure into progress. Failure also trains one of the most important muscles in Stoicism: resilience. Every time you get back up, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. It's like lifting weights. The resistance is what builds the muscle. Without the strain, there's no growth. And let's be honest, if life were only success, comfort, and ease, we would all be weak. We would never stretch, never adapt, never deepen. It's the fire that hardens the steel. It's the storm that strengthens the roots. It's failure that carves the character. So don't run from failure. Don't curse it. Don't heed it. Welcome it. Study it. Use it. Because the one who learns from failure is unstoppable. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Obstacles block the way." He said, "Obstacles become the way." That's not just philosophy, it's survival. It's how you transform setbacks into stepping stones. So the next time you stumble, pause before you judge yourself. Instead of saying, "This is the end," say, "This is the lesson." Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What now?" That shift is everything. Because failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the soil success grows from. And if you embrace it with courage, you'll discover what the Stoics knew. Every obstacle is an invitation to become greater than you were yesterday. Lesson 5. Protect your mental energy as your most precious asset. Every morning, you wake up with a limited amount of energy. Think of it like a battery. Some days you start at 100%. Some days at 70%. But one thing is always true by the time you go to bed. That energy will be spent. The only question is where you spent it. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew life wasn't just about time. It was about energy. That's why Seneca famously said, "It's not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." And isn't that true? It's not the hours that are lacking. It's how we drain them on things that don't matter. Think about how much of your day gets consumed by arguments that prove nothing, by doom scrolling through bad news, by worrying about people who will never change their opinion of you. All of these things siphon off your mental strength. And when your energy is gone, you have nothing left for what truly matters: your purpose, your family, your growth, your joy. Let me ask you, if you had a pile of gold coins, would you hand them out freely to anyone who asked? Of course not. You'd protect them. You'd spend them carefully. But every day, we give away our mental energy like it's worthless. We hand it to the stranger who cuts us off in traffic, to the co-worker who irritates us, to the endless scroll of negativity online. And then we wonder why we feel empty by the evening. The Stoics teach us to guard our inner resources. Your energy is a treasure. Your peace of mind is sacred, and it's your responsibility to decide where it goes. Here's the practice. Start paying attention to the energy audit of your day. Ask yourself, what gives me energy? What drains it? You might find that a short walk in the morning fills your spirit, while a 10-minute scroll through social media leaves you depleted. A deep conversation with a true friend uplifts you, while gossip at work exhausts you. Once you become aware, you can start setting boundaries. And boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They decide what you let in and what you keep out. Protecting your energy might mean saying no more often. It might mean turning off the news after 5 minutes instead of 50. It might mean stepping away from arguments that don't need to be won. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Imagine how much energy you'd save if you didn't feel the need to weigh in on every controversy, every post, every debate. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove every point. Sometimes silence is the strongest form of wisdom. Another powerful way to protect your mental energy is through focus. When you scatter yourself across a dozen half-hearted tasks, you bleed energy. But when you concentrate on one meaningful action at a time, you conserve it. The Stoics called this living with prohairesis, the discipline of intentional choice. Ask yourself each morning, what are the few things today that truly matter? Then guard your energy like a bodyguard protects a VIP. Don't let the trivial steal from the essential. Remember, every yes to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. Every time you indulge in endless distraction, you're saying no to your own peace. Every time you argue over nonsense, you're saying no to your growth. And life is too short for that. The truth is, when you start protecting your mental energy, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel calmer, clearer, more in control. You'll stop being pulled in 1,000 directions and start moving with intention. You'll discover that peace doesn't come from having more hours in the day. It comes from spending your limited energy wisely. So, here's your challenge today. Guard your mental energy like gold. Notice what drains you, and gently step away. Notice what fills you, and lean into it. Say no when you must. Withdraw when it protects your soul, because in the end, your energy determines the quality of your life. Seneca was right. It's not that life is short, it's that we waste too much of it. Don't waste yours on the meaningless. Invest it in what truly matters. Lesson 6. Let go of the need to always be right. Think about the last time you got into an argument. Maybe it was with a spouse, a co-worker, or even a stranger online. Do you remember how your chest tightened? Your voice grew sharper. Your heart raced. And for what? Most of the time, these battles are not about truth, they're about ego. The Stoics were wise enough to see through this trap. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, had every opportunity to impose his views on others. Yet he often wrote in his private journal that the goal was not domination, but understanding. He reminded himself that being right at all costs is just another form of slavery. Slavery to pride, to insecurity, to the fragile need for validation. When we insist on being right, we lose more than we gain. We lose peace. We lose connection. We turn potential allies into opponents. We trade growth for temporary satisfaction. Seneca once said, "It is better to conquer anger than to defeat an enemy, for then you win twice." In other words, victory over yourself is greater than victory over someone else. Ask yourself, what's the price of needing to be right? Maybe it costs you a friendship. Maybe it poisons your marriage. Maybe it turns an ordinary day into a battlefield. And yet, when you let go of that need, something amazing happens. You begin to see people not opponents. You begin to listen, not just react. You begin to build bridges instead of walls. The practice is simple, but not easy. When you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. Instead of preparing your counter-argument, try listening fully. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, ask a question. Seek the truth together instead of forcing it. This shift turns conflict into conversation. It transforms debates into dialogue. Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change, for it is the truth I seek." And the truth never harmed anyone. Imagine the humility and strength it takes to say that. Imagine a world where more of us lived by it. When you drop the obsession with being right, you gain freedom. You are no longer chained to every opinion, no longer threatened by every disagreement. You become secure enough in your values to say, "I don't need to win this argument to know who I am." That is real power. Letting go doesn't mean surrendering your beliefs. It doesn't mean agreeing with falsehood. It means holding your convictions with strength, but your ego with lightness. It means recognizing that people are not problems to be solved, but souls to be understood. Here's a practical exercise the next time you're in a conversation that begins to heat up. Silently ask yourself, do I want to win, or do I want to connect? That single question can redirect your energy. You may realize that proving your point is less important than preserving the relationship. You may discover that letting the other person feel heard creates more peace than winning ever could. Over time, this practice builds something priceless: trust. People start to feel safe with you. They realize you are not out to dominate them, but to understand them. And when people feel safe, they open up, they soften, they listen back. The Stoics knew that peace is not found in constant victory over others. It's found in mastery of the self. True wisdom isn't about winning arguments. It's about winning clarity, compassion, and connection. So here's your challenge. Release the need to always be right. Choose understanding over ego. Choose connection over conquest. In doing so, you'll find that the quiet dignity of humility shines brighter than the loud satisfaction of pride. And remember, this being wrong is not weakness, it's a doorway to growth. But clinging to the illusion of always being right, that is the surest path to isolation. The Stoic way is stronger, it's freer, and it leaves you with something no argument can ever give: peace of mind. Lesson 7. Live from the inside out. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness outside themselves. They believe it lives in a new house, a bigger paycheck, or the approval of others. They measure their worth by titles, possessions, or applause. Yet if you've lived long enough, you know the truth. These things can be taken in a moment. A job can disappear, a relationship can crumble, health can falter, and when that happens, if your peace was tied to those externals, it crumbles right along with them. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that real strength, real joy, and real freedom are rooted inside, not in circumstances. Epictetus said it plainly, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And in another place, "No one can harm you without your permission." These words cut through centuries and still speak directly to us today. What do they mean? They mean that no matter what others do, no matter what life throws at you, your soul, your values, your integrity remain untouchable unless you hand them over. This is the essence of living from the inside out. It's building your house on bedrock instead of sand. The storms may rage, the floods may rise, but the foundation holds firm. You stop being a prisoner of approval. You stop being enslaved by outcomes. You begin to measure your life not by what happens to you, but by how faithfully you live according to your values. Think about it. How much energy do we spend trying to control the uncontrollable? We worry about how people perceive us. We stress over whether the promotion will come. We lose sleep over things far beyond our reach. Meanwhile, the one thing fully in our control, our own character, gets neglected. The Stoics flip this on its head. They remind us that peace comes when you stop outsourcing your happiness to things you cannot command and start rooting it in who you are becoming. But how do we practice this one simple but profound exercise at the end of each day? Ask yourself, today, did I live true to my values? Not, did I win? Not, did I get what I wanted? Not, did they like me? But rather, did I live with honesty, with courage, with kindness, with discipline? This shifts your inner compass. It takes you off the hamster wheel of outcomes and grounds you in integrity. Imagine a world where more people lived this way. Leaders who chose service over ego, parents who chose presence over distraction, friends who chose honesty over flattery. The ripple effect would be profound, and it begins with you. It begins each morning when you decide, I will not let my circumstances dictate my peace. I will live from the inside out. Of course, this is not easy. The pull of the world is strong. Ads tell you you're incomplete without their product. Social media whispers that your worth is measured in likes. Even your own inner critic may try to convince you that you'll only be enough once you reach the next milestone. But here's the Stoic truth. You are already enough when you live by your values. Seneca wrote, a good character, once established, is a refuge. A man who lives in harmony with his nature has everything within himself. That harmony is the reward. That's the secret the Stoics knew. When your outer life is rooted in your inner principles, no storm can strip you bare. Try this tomorrow. When something frustrating happens, a rude driver cuts you off, a co-worker criticizes you, or a plan collapse, pause. Ask yourself, what does this moment invite me to practice? Patience, forgiveness, courage, self-control. Suddenly, the problem becomes a teacher. The circumstance, instead of robbing your peace, becomes the soil where your values grow stronger. Living from the inside out transforms suffering into strength. It shifts your focus from, why is this happening to me, to, how will I respond in a way that honors who I am? That's the freedom Epictetus was pointing to. That's the unshakable joy that no circumstance can take away. So remember this. Happiness is not out there, it's in here. Not in what you own, but in what owns you. Not in what happens, but in how you choose to meet it. And when you choose to live from the inside out, you step into a kind of peace that no applause, no criticism, no gain, and no loss can ever shake. That's not just Stoic wisdom, that's liberation. Lesson 8. Practicing gratitude as the foundation of peace. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the endless cycle of comparison. We scroll through social media, watch the success of others, and quietly ask ourselves, why don't I have that yet? Why am I behind? This quiet dissatisfaction grows like a shadow, and instead of peace, our hearts are filled with restlessness. The Stoics, however, pointed us to a different path. They taught that gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, it is the very foundation of inner peace. Seneca once wrote, a happy man is not the one who has much, but the one who knows how to be content with what he has. That truth is timeless, Peace doesn't come from adding more to your life. It comes from recognizing the blessings you already hold. Practicing gratitude is like changing the lens through which you see the world. Without it, you will notice only the gaps, the things missing, the goals not yet achieved, the dreams still unfulfilled. But when you cultivate gratitude, suddenly your perspective shifts. You begin to notice the gifts that were always there, the breath in your lungs each morning, the warmth of a home, the simple kindness of a friend, or even the quiet moment of enjoying a hot cup of coffee before the day begins. The Stoics considered this practice a form of mental correction, shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, from anxiety to peace. And the practice doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the most powerful method is also the simplest. Write down 3 things you are grateful for every day. It may sound small, almost insignificant, but over time, this practice rewires the mind. Writing forces you to pause, reflect, and recognize the value of what's often overlooked. Slowly, your attention moves away from what you lack and onto what you already possess. And as you keep doing it, you build what I like to call a spiritual savings account. On the hard days, you can return to those pages and be reminded of just how much you truly have. Consider this today. You might write, "I am grateful for my health that allows me to work," or "I am grateful for the smile of a stranger who brightened my morning," or even, "I am grateful for the peace I felt in prayer this morning." These aren't grand events, but they are treasures. Gratitude teaches you to see wealth where others see nothing at all. The Stoics also challenged us to go deeper. Gratitude should not only be for the easy and pleasant things, but even for challenges. Why? Because every obstacle contains a lesson, and every hardship strengthens our character. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The obstacle is the way." To practice gratitude for difficulties is to recognize that pain shapes us, struggle matures us, and resistance builds resilience. Imagine what happens when you begin to thank life, not just for comfort, but also for struggle. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you begin to ask, "What can I learn from this? How is this shaping me into someone stronger?" This mindset doesn't eliminate pain, but it transforms how you carry it. Gratitude also liberates us from the trap of comparison. When you are busy appreciating what you already have, the achievements of others no longer provoke envy. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. Instead, you measure your life by your values, by the richness of your character, by the joy of being present. In this way, gratitude is not just an emotion, it is a shield, protecting your mind from the endless noise of discontent. Picture starting your day not with the rush of notifications, but with a simple practice of gratitude, just 3 lines in a notebook before you check your phone. This act may take only a few minutes, but it can shape the entire trajectory of your day. You walk with a lighter spirit, you carry more patience, you smile more easily, because a grateful heart has no room for bitterness. This is why the Stoics treated gratitude as a cornerstone of wisdom. Without it, the soul is restless, always reaching, always complaining. But with it, the soul is grounded, full, and at peace, even when circumstances are far from perfect. Gratitude doesn't require your life to be easy. It only requires your eyes to be open. So tonight, as you close your day, or tomorrow, as you rise, ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Right now, in this moment, write it down. Speak it out. Let it anchor you. Because the more you practice gratitude, the more you will discover a truth. The Stoics understood long ago, peace is not found in having more, it is found in seeing more. Lesson 9. Embracing death to live more fully. There's a truth. Most of us avoid death. We know it's inevitable, yet we push it to the back of our minds, pretending it's far away. But in doing so, we waste the very gift of life we've been given. Denial doesn't make us safe. It only makes us careless with our time. The Stoics had a powerful principle, memento mori. Remember, you will die. At first, it sounds grim, even depressing, but to the Stoics, it wasn't about despair. It was about clarity. It was a reminder that life is short, and because it's short, every moment is priceless. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. Death stands at your elbow. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." His words cut straight through our tendency to delay. How often have we postponed dreams, withheld forgiveness, or silenced words of love, thinking there would always be time later, but later is not guaranteed. Accepting death doesn't make us hopeless, it makes us awake. It sharpens our vision and teaches us to cherish the present. Suddenly, mornings become gifts, not routines. Conversations with loved ones become sacred. Petty arguments lose their grip on us, because we realize none of it lasts forever. Those who fear death often live half-lives, paralyzed by worry. But those who accept death live with a rare kind of courage. They forgive more quickly, because grudges waste precious time. They speak more honestly, because they know silence can leave regrets. They pursue what matters, because they understand that nothing is more tragic than a life wasted on the trivial. The Stoics encourage us to ask a simple but piercing question when faced with choices. If today were my last day, would I regret this decision? That question cuts through the noise. It shows us what's essential and what's not. It guides us toward choices rooted in meaning rather than distraction. Imagine if you had only a week left to live. Would you keep scrolling endlessly through your phone? Would you stay angry at a friend over something small? Or would you spend your time in the presence of those you love, doing the things that light up your spirit? The awareness of death forces us to choose depth over shallowness, substance over waste. The Stoics didn't view death as an enemy. They saw it as a teacher. Death teaches us the value of life. It's like the hourglass running silently in the background, reminding us that the sand will not flow forever. And because of that, today is not something to take for granted, it's something to treasure. Ironically, when we stop fearing death, we gain more peace. We no longer cling desperately to time. We learn to savor it. We live freely, love openly, and give generously because we know that life is not measured by its length, but by its depth. Memento mori doesn't tell us to live in fear. It calls us to live with courage, honesty, and urgency. To live as if every day is both fragile and sacred. And when we live this way, death no longer feels like a thief. It feels like a reminder that life, here and now, is the most precious gift we will ever hold. Walking the Stoic path. The 9 principles we've explored are not abstract philosophies meant only for scholars or ancient thinkers. They are practical tools, simple, timeless, and powerful, that can reshape the way we face life's storms. Stoicism reminds us that true strength is not found in controlling the unpredictable world outside, but in mastering our responses within. When life feels overwhelming, remember, peace does not come from perfect circumstances. but from a trained mind and a steady heart. Every setback can become a lesson, every disappointment can forge resilience, and every new day offers a fresh chance to live with clarity, courage, and gratitude. Walking the Stoic path is not about eliminating hardship. It's about meeting hardship with calm and dignity. It's about building the kind of inner strength that no insult, failure, or loss can destroy, bit by bit. As you apply these lessons, you'll find yourself becoming stronger, steadier, and more at peace than you ever imagined. So I invite you begin today. Take one principle and practice it. Notice how your mind shifts, how your heart steadies, how your life slowly transforms. This is not a one-time act, but a lifelong journey of growth, and you don't have to walk it alone. If these lessons spoke to you, if they helped you pause, reflect, and find strength, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we'll continue exploring timeless wisdom, practical strategies, and uplifting truths that can help you live a more meaningful and resilient life. Remember, storms will always come, but with Stoicism, you can learn to stand like a candle in the storm, calm, steady, and unshaken.